Talk Radio.
Welcome to Song Talk Radio, the show with songwriters talking to other songwriters about the craft of songwriting. We share tips, tools, and techniques, and together we all become better at writing songs. I'm your host, Neil Modi, and my usual co-host, Phil Emery, is away. He's storming the Capitol, figuratively speaking. And besides, it's in Canada, so it's going to be pretty polite. I'm sure he'll have a good time. For the rest of you, please send your comments and questions to @SongTalkRadio on Facebook or Instagram, or feedback@songtalk.ca for the email, and we'll share your thoughts on the show. And please visit songtalk.ca to see the show post for this episode, to find links to resources we mention, and to download lyric and chord sheets to follow along with the songs that we feature. Tonight, we're very happy to welcome Manitoba-based country artist Nelson Little. How are you doing, Nelson?
Not too bad. Thanks for having me. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good, thanks. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. And just a little bit about Nelson. Nelson Little is a celebrated storyteller from Portage la Prairie, Manitoba, who brought home his third award from the Manitoba Country Music Awards this winter for Best Roots Artist, and has also received an Aboriginal People's Choice Award. Little has opened for Canadian Country Music Hall of Fame inductee Charlie Major, the Sheepdogs, and Fred Eaglesmith. His music has been featured across Canada on CTV Morning Live, Sirius XM, and the CBC Radio Network, reaching #1 on the Indigenous Music Countdown, Canada's largest running Indigenous music chart program since 2000. 2 years after releasing his single High Road, a song inspired by his son that urges listeners to keep their heads up, Little released Just Make It Happen, a high-energy Chuck Berry-inspired 50s rock song that is designed to inspire any listener of any age to take control of their destiny and go for their dreams. Great to have you on the show, Nelson.
Thank you.
Great. And before we get to Nelson's most energetic and awesome song, just a little thing I discovered on YouTube. One of the people I follow on YouTube, David Bennett Piano, who I've mentioned on the show several times. Of course, he's a regular YouTuber, talks a lot about music theory and different, analyzing Beatles songs and whatnot, and a very good educator that way. He dropped a new video called Every Type of Song Structure Explained. And he literally goes through, the two-part structures that existed, generations and generations ago, the 32 bar form, verse, chorus, bridge. It talks about the difference between a middle eight and a bridge, which often we get confused and just think it's a, British versus North American thing, but he goes a little bit deeper into that. So another great video from David Bennett. But it kind of got me thinking, and I'm actually curious about this to ask you as well, Nelson. Do you ever, when you're songwriting, do you ever really think about how the structure of your song reflects the narrative or the idea that you have about a song? Like, does your structure ever differ based on what what you're trying to communicate, or do you default to a verse, chorus, bridge, chorus?
No, I think when you write your very first song, you don't know any of this stuff. You just hey, I got an idea, and it kind of just there's these words and this melody that are ringing in my head. And I guess anyone who has it in them, there's these little formulas that I would hope are somewhat natural. I would say it would be hard to teach someone how to write a song, but if it's in you, and it can be taught, anything can be taught through studying and repetitive studying. But for myself, I think, I'm going right back to the first song. This might not be the way to approach this. If I bundle it all up, I've learned to, over time, respect what was coming first, the ideas or the melodies. And let's just go to High Road, because we talked about that. I had a lot on my chest. We all did after the pandemic. So I had a lot of emotion built up. I just wanted to burst. And my son was struggling in school. I was frustrated with that. When we started to go back, and I needed to come up with some advice with him. And I literally, for the first time on any song I've ever written, took a cup of tea in my room. I used a keyboard. I sat it down. I blanked everything out with just a bland space. And I felt something with a little bit of energy, uplifting, because the message I was about to write, and I knew what I had to say to my kid, but I wanted to just tell him, we're all going through this. We're in this together. What can I say to him to help him in school overcome the challenges that these kids in grade 4 are in? Because the pandemic for us adults, I think, versus a child, uh, all the antics and all the new habits we had to get used to for a little while, well, it must have been harder on a child, because at least we got to talk
Mm.
about it, discuss it, go to sleep, and at least you dealt with it. For a kid, you probably weren't even talking, just going to bed frustrated or weird. I don't have school today. I have school today.
Mm.
They don't even understand if their diploma for that year mattered. I really don't think, because we just kind of manipulated the education system for them to just get through, just like the rest of us had to. So I was thinking, man, I can't really be frustrated with my kid and write a frustrating song. I think I gotta just tell him to do what I would do, and that's take the high road
Mm.
and turn the other cheek, or keep your back to the wall, and just all these little lines of what I would say constructively to someone, and leave all the negative out, and just use love and forgiveness and take the high road. That message started to resonate really strong, and I'm on the keys, and I'm thinking, you know what, I'm just feeling something that was uplifting, and the accordion came later. But as for the structure of the song, I think I grew up on country music, so it is like verse, chorus, verse, lead, bridge. Like, there are these structures you kind of respect, but you
Mm.
don't necessarily have to abide by those structures. You kind of see what the first verse does. Well, sometimes a first verse needs a little bit, like a second part to the first verse,
Mm.
and you just to kind of get an intro going, and not just dig right in. You got to kind of grab your listeners as well as when you're writing, and sometimes it has to keep going a little bit. I've had experience with that on a few songs, but High Road, just, I think the melody and came second, and within a couple hours. But I was so ready to just burst with this emotion, and say what I had to say to my kid, because I was I had enough of not only what we were going through, but I had enough of, like, I can't explain to you what's going on tomorrow, so I'm sorry.
Mm.
That's not a dad. I mean, it is, but I mean, I don't go, hey son, I don't know, but his well being and education is on the line. I have to say something. So
Mm.
that's how those words come up, and I think that the music was a blessing. How it starts. Charlie Major is someone I look up to. So I've opened for him a few times. When I strum the guitar, like, the piano kind of gave me the key. I was able to find tones and start getting, matching it with what I had to say, and where this progression was going to go. Then you kind of go back to the guitar to see how can I really do this. I play guitar. That's my dominant instrument, and I just felt like this. It just comes natural, I guess. I hate to say that, but
Mm.
when it comes to an emotion and a melody, I just respect what's coming into my mind, and I don't jump on anything right away. But the minute you feel what's working there, you just kind of lock that part in. So I had that strum, which was like, I don't even know what the beat is, to be honest, or the tempo, that, like, the name of those, like, structure, but
Mm.
um, it just came right quick. I just said, I'm holding my head, I'm putting the fight down. And I knew right there that was the beginning of the song. So I had something. Then I
Mm.
was able to finish the first verse, stand up, and feel like, whoa, it's out, it's coming, it's coming. What's this chorus going to sound like?
Mm.
So High Road, when I got to the chorus, I managed to get through it. But before I got too far, I knew that this was going to be a real decent track, and I just felt like this birth of this song is coming. I want some more professional ears. So I called up Dave Lazarou from Doc Walker. He's done harmonies on previous work of mine, and he helped me, just make sure that I wasn't going too fast, and missing an opportunity in how the song was going to be structured. So he helped me structure it, and we got to, the chorus and the bridge, and we made it work that way.
Right on. Yeah, I mean, there's a certain wisdom in just looking at what came before you and kind of letting that flow through you, right? And
Yeah, right.
kind of making it natural, because as soon as you start thinking about these things too much, it can sometimes end up a little bit contrived,
Sure. Yeah.
or then you're verging into like, oh, that's clever,
Yeah. No, letting it,
instead of
you
just let
know,
it flow,
I
right?
grew up on a farm too, and my uncle always said, let's only help the cows that were calving if they really, really, really need it. It's just better to let it happen naturally. So I really applied that to my
Yeah.
music too. Like, let's not push this. But I mean, at the beginning, you know, my very first song, like, or one of the first few, Whiskey Devil, it's not online. I'm going to be recording it, but it was a song I wrote in the shower, and it was one I just had to, whoa, I got to get out of the shower and get to an instrument, because
Mm,
this melody and these words are coming at the same time. Like, this
mm,
is, whoa, it's like a premature birth. Like, whoa, we got to rush this one to the hospital and get this one out. That's what it was like. So that one
mm.
there, the melodies and the lyrics came pretty much. That song was written in probably one full day, and you know, sometimes it just works that way.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Okay, okay, let's take a listen to Just Make It Happen. And of course, folks, the go to songtalk.ca. The lyric sheet and everything will be up on the website there for this show post. And of course, this is a co-write as well, right? So this is Nelson Little and Dave Rogers. We're going to get into your collaborative process after we take a listen. So
All
here we
right.
go.
Sometimes there are things in life that need changing. Sometimes there are things that stay the same. You can't just sit back here without trying, or you'll be crying. I've got a dream that's burning deep inside, out of control like a fire I can't hide. I'm flying high on passion and desire. It's taking me higher. Never say never, ever, ever. Just make it happen, or everything will take forever and never happen. Just make it happen. Yeah, make it happen. Have you been looking for love and a little romance? Whatever you do, find the courage and take a chance. Just crank up the music loud and you'll be dancing. You're the main attraction. Never say never, ever, ever. Just make it happen, or everything will take forever and never happen. Just make it happen. Yeah, make it happen. Come on. You have to risk and dream and never fear of anything. Imagine life with everything, like superstars and limousines and private planes and diamond rings. You can have the finer things like champagne and caviar, cruise ships and classic cars. It doesn't matter who you are. Never say never, ever, ever. Just make it happen, or everything will take forever and never happen. Just make it happen. Yeah, make it happen. Never say never, ever, ever. Just make it happen. Anytime, anywhere, anyone. Just make it happen. Just make it happen. Yeah, make it happen. Just make it happen.
Awesome. It's fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, totally rocking. Yeah, great country twang to it and everything. Sorry, my phone's going off. Yeah, there's a bunch of things I love about this song. Of course, the energy of it, the kind of upbeat attitude of it, and the way the melodies fall into that, just like you think it's like, you think it's really dense and stuff is coming at you really fast, and it is, but then when you hit that bridge, you just amp it up even more. Literally no time for you to take a breath, and just blasting through it. And I mean, I have to, I came to this realization a short while ago, I guess maybe, a short while ago, that, everyone always talks about, the chorus is your big part of the song, but a lot of songs I really, really dig, the bridge is actually bigger than the chorus. And and this is I mean, your bridge is kind of it's a very much a different creature in some ways.
It's like a double bridge.
It was like a double bridge, but it's like the rhythm section kind of keeps it on the low down, like just kind of lower,
right.
but your vocal delivery is just like, it's just coming at you so fast that it amps up the energy in some ways, and reduces the energy in some ways. So it's kind of a different creature. It's kind of a perfect bridge in my opinion.
Yeah,
it's exactly what you want to do. You want to give that respite enough, and it's just long enough, and then you blast back into the chorus.
Well, when we wrote that one once we got to the studio, like, I'm real super comfortable with Dave Laszlo now as producer. He sang harmonies on Keep Me Close. He sang harmonies on Nickel Mine. Then he co-wrote High Road with me and sang harmonies. Now he's producing, singing harmonies, and playing rhythm. So we got this bond going, and it's working. And he asked me during that part of that bridge, do you want to take a breath at that middle spot? And even if you made it obvious, if you had to go and do it. And I'm like, no, let's practice taking a deep breath at the end of the solo. So we found a spot in there where I listen for a certain note. And when it's holding, that's when I get away from the mic, no matter where I'm at, and the lead ends, and then you just gotta let just enough air out, because it's just enough to hold the long note at the end. But that was deliberate. That was deliberate. We wanted to exactly this. So, like, Just Make It Happen is exactly what you hear. And if you've checked out any of my previous songs, you will know I've wrote a lot of songs out of pain and life experience, and I've turned them into positive melodies and positive messages inside of the song to help myself heal that pain, because there's just been a lot of things that happened to me, like tragedies and accidents and whatnot, as there has a lot of us. I'm not alone in that boat, on that river, and I've just come to terms. But when we set out to write this one, it was like, let's get out of that. Let's just take all happiness, all positive energy, and leave my heart out of it. But let's still keep it in my range of vocals, my range of style. If I were to deliver this song in a live performance, I got to be able to pull it off. But let's have a little celebration that I don't need to always revert to waiting for something bad or a mishap in life or something sad to happen to be able to write. And when I got together with Dave, he's the one who struck the spark, or whatever. He sparked the idea. And it was like, he said the word, just make it happen. And he gave me one of these on the shoulder, like, just make it happen. And he goes, we should write a song and call it Just Make It Happen, and just talk about, like, and I was like, that is a good idea. But I was just marketing High Road at the time, and I didn't feel like diving into another project right then and there. But 3 months went by, and Dave kept picking at me, let's try it. I'm like, Dave, what do you want to do? Your place or mine? And he goes, I'll pick you up. Let's go for a drive. So we hit the highway. We're going for a drive. And he just said what he felt about the meaning, just make it happen. He goes, there's a song there. It's uplifting, Nelson. It's not about you. This is everybody. I'm not picking on you. I'm just saying. And I've been here 15 years in Portage. He's been a businessman here for 40 years. But when he showed me his stack of songwrites and all his documents, I was like, wow, you are a serious songwriter. I didn't know this about you. So we went about the drives. We started driving every Sunday. And we just made it very deliberate. I'm going to let you lead this conversation, but we made it deliberate to just stay positive energy and get myself out of it, but keep myself in it. But my heart doesn't need to be attached to this one. You just have some fun, he said. And he was right every step of the way. So that was the grounds I had to start to write the song.
Yeah, that's really great. I mean, yeah, going by earlier what you're saying, like songwriting is therapy. Like that's,
Yeah.
that's free therapy for us songwriters. We can always pour all that negative energy, but the whole conception of turning it into something positive, yeah, that's an extraordinary thing, and it's harder to do. It's I find it's, we always say it's like easy to write a sad song in a lot of ways, right? But to write a positive, happy song that's actually earnest without it being cliche, without it being sort of sugary or
Yeah.
syrupy, like that's a bit of a challenge.
You know what, too, Neil, is when you talk about that type of challenge, you know how our industry has changed, and especially after the pandemic. But I mean, even over time, radio. There's more. There's more. How do they say it? There's more. Um, like a lot more needles in a bigger haystack these days.
Hmm.
You know. So if like myself, I also have the dream of um, how do you say it? Like just expressing these songs, and so I know when I write, I'm meant to sing it. There might be time I could write for someone else, but I haven't thought about that yet.
Hmm.
The tragedies took me through my 20s and into half of my 30s, and some things I've dealt with. But for the last 10, 15 years, I've really poured my heart into how do we make this a professional um, package to give to the world? How do we present this? So that takes a long time. That probably takes 5 to 10 years for anybody to learn.
Hmm. For
So
sure.
when you have that knowing that you're going to do it, you're kind of careful about what you put out. So some of the just because you can write a song doesn't mean you should just go write a song that's going to fit on that radio station, and it's not who I am. So I think I probably um, limit myself or shortchange myself of maybe other possible opportunities because of that little. Uh, it's like a bylaw that I have for myself
Hmm.
that I'm not that I just focus on this. It's not. I never wrote it in stone yet. It's just the natural thing. So just make it happen was it was time to introduce. I want to get back to antics and what our societies have been going through. Is young kids have a short attention span these days. They don't collect vinyl and tape cassettes and CDs like we did,
Hmm.
and that is a new market. So it's social media, something I didn't really want to get involved in. But I wanted to introduce the kids of today to what Johnny B. Good sounded like. Remember that movie, Back to the
Of
Future?
course, of course.
That's probably you and I's favorite movie, and a lot
Oh
of
yeah.
guys my
Oh
age,
yeah, for sure.
I would watch that movie 10 times in a row.
Oh, hands down.
10 bags of popcorn, 10 reruns. But
Yep, yep.
when he got on stage and played that, Watch Me for the Changes, and I don't know if you're going to like this, but your kids are going to love it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And then how about Ferris Bueller's Day Off, where
Yeah.
he gets at the end and it's twist and
Just
shout.
a shout. Yeah, yeah.
Man, we all feel good. We all feel like stretching off the couch. Man, that was a good movie. This is a feel good song. I love it. What a great movie. And you kind of celebrate that little moment that producer or director caught and added in there. Because that's all they did was took a Chuck Berry song or whoever sings Twist and Shout. You know what I mean? And I felt like I think it's time to visit that era again, Dave, and try and bring the melodies from that into this song so the kids today, so my son can kind of have a little taste of what Johnny B. Good felt like to us. So I kind of took that sound and applied it right away to our, how you, when you're writing a song, you might have some keynotes on the side that you're going to talk about this, so you could put some notes in there, and it's just notes. But that was one of them. It was let's bring Chuck Berry and Jerry Lee Lewis. So I was like, then we need a piano. And then we were thinking, you know what? That's how it all started. So we put those keynotes there, and you go back and revisit those as you're building the song. And every now and then you'd go back to, well, how's this melody going to work? I'm like, we can't steal the Johnny B. Good look, but you can run it over 3 times in the intro and then start your lead off with it, but just go in your own direction.
Right.
And then, when you go to produce those songs, you really have to be careful who you choose and who your producer or you choose, or who you choose as a team, because it should be a team by then, what those tones are and who's playing it. So we got Murray Pulver from the Crash Test Dummies. I'm 46. He's older than me. When Dave Wasloo said his name, I just looked at Dave Rogers and I'm like, he's perfect, because he comes from our era. He's a little bit older than me, and he's got rock and roll experience. I said, I'm country. If you just put him on the track, that message will just kind of tell itself. So I didn't want to tell Murray Pulver, hey, think of Johnny Be Good when you're recording this.
No, but yeah.
But the song, when you start playing it, you're like,
Yeah.
nothing else really works.
No,
except
yeah, exactly.
simple lick.
Yeah, it's a perfect fit, right?
So
Yeah, it's amazing. That's really cool. I mean, to a certain extent, it does. From what you were saying before, it almost sounds like it just kind of poured out of you, and that just kind of came together naturally. But it does sound like you guys were actually really strategic about this. Like every decision was very deliberate.
18 months to write that song. Every Sunday we got together.
Wow.
18 months, 6 to 8 hours a day on the highway. We went driving from our place. We're both in Portage Prairie. We would go north, south, east, or west, and he would basically tell me, pick a town. And I was like, how far? He's like, I don't care, 2-3 hours. And I'd be like, okay. I'd pull my map out, zoom up, and I'd look, okay, we'll go to Matlock, Manitoba, or Wawanesa up in Riding Mountain, or we'll go to, let's go past Brandon to Souris. But then when I said that, Dave would take, and we'd go to every town on the way there. So it took 8 hours to go to a town that was only 2 hours away, and we'd be back at nighttime. He'd pick me up in the morning.
So did this song go through a lot of rewrites then? Was it a lot of lyrical?
No rewrites. Nope. Just it was just dissected. So what would happen is every Sunday would come around, we'd go for another ride, but line for line. But when you're building melodies with lyrics strategically, at this point, like I've written quite a few songs, so we were really able to. I was like, "Okay, Dave, what do you want? What are you visioning out of this?" Because he was bugging me, just make it happen. Once we had the 50s theme down, I'm like, that might be easier to do it that way. Let's get this little tempo going, which is right. And I said, I'll just write to that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't know what I seen, but I think it was James Bond. You ever see that movie, Never Say Never?
Of course, yeah.
There was another, and there was a line in there because he was like telling me, and it would be like this: he'd grab a piece of paper and just start writing one lines of little short mottos. Of what encouragement takes. He said, pretend you're a coach of an Olympic team and you guys are about to approach the gold medal. What would you say to them?
Right.
I was like, hey guys, if you don't think you could do it, never say never. You can do this. and I was like, I think that never say never, ever. I said, put emphasis on it. So I said, let's kill it. Every time let's overemphasize the song. So never say never, ever.
Yeah.
And then that ended up sticking. Like we had to go back to that in our notes like 20 pages earlier. I was like, well, let's pull this one up and put it here. And we weren't going to put anything to do with love and romance in there. We wanted to just keep this about, but then you know what? You're excluding people that aren't in love right now or are lost love or are looking for love. So he said, we have to include everybody in the song. So if you look at every lyric in there, I don't think we left anybody out. Young or old.
Yeah, I think that's it. I mean, first off, you never say never, ever is absolutely the hook of the song. It is so good. It's so tasty and it's so simple in a lot of ways, right? And and that's really great is picking out those little gems that you know are gonna like that little phrase is really gonna work, and then you work it so that it really pays off. But I do like it that. I mean, you know, in terms of a storytelling aspect, like it starts out, you know, your first verse is kind of a little more global, like big picture kind of encouragement thinking. Your verse 2 gets a little more intimate about the love and a little romance, taking a little courage. And then the bridge goes really, really extravagant and big, right? And so yeah, you're kind of playing with different scales. And different aspects of life, and yeah, you actually do manage to cover quite a bit in there, which is actually kind of perfect, and given the nature of the song, right?
Yeah, to the young kids, like I said, we wanted to introduce them to what a sound that we might have been familiar with. So that was one, and then again for the kids, how can we make it a little bit better for the kids? And I say kids, but I'm just talking teenagers, the youth. Like, let's call it the social media masses, right? We thought I could rap. I can't rap. I probably could if I tried hard enough, but I don't rap. But that's as close as I'll get to rap. It's fast talking.
Yeah.
But he said, yeah, try it. So I just tried a couple things, and he liked it. Yeah. And it was actually him who said, why don't you go a little bit more and like kill it. Like we were actually going to transpose there, but I thought, no, I'm already out of breath. Like you're not getting another note out of me.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
can you imagine it transposing there? But then I would have
Shoot
had
it
to
up a
end.
third. Yeah,
I would
yeah.
have had to end the last verse in a higher note, and I'm like, no, I'm already out of breath.
Yeah,
Three
yeah.
quarters through the song, so
Right, right.
we were reaching out for the kids on those fast talking parts, and I'm glad you like it because you
Mhm.
seem to really like the bridge, and
Yeah.
you never know when you put out something into the world like that, the way other people perceive it
Mhm.
might not be the way we did it when we were writing.
Yeah. No, I actually think it's really cool. It's like it's just like it's like the right perfect length. It's got a different aspect to it, and really but more than anything else, it does what a bridge is supposed to do. It gives you a bit of a palate cleanser before you hit the
Yeah.
chorus again. That's
Awesome.
essentially what it does. That it's a very base
Right.
thing, which is great. And it's amazing what you say about the kids and stuff, because I've met, through our meetup and stuff like that, I meet obviously a lot of people that are younger than me. And a lot of them are like, I wish I was alive in the 80s. Your music in the 80s was the best. And I'm like, so it's not just my personal bias because I'm a kid of the 80s. It's
Yeah.
actually objectively true. I'm like, yeah, it's actually objectively true.
Yeah.
The 80s was the best.
was.
So I think that's, it's like even some of the young artists, are really, hearkening back to older styles of music, and refreshing it and bringing it forward, which I think is a great thing. I mean, it's of course it's good to innovate at the same time, but at the same time, if it ain't broke, don't fix it if it ain't broke,
Yeah,
right?
man definitely has a problem with that.
What's that?
Sometimes our innovations get us in trouble.
Yeah, well, that's what we were talking about before. Like then
Yeah.
it starts getting a little bit clever and contrived, and I don't know. I mean, so sometimes keeping it simple, because this song has got a lot going on in it. But at the same time, it's pretty simple. Like like you say, you're not modulating into the bridge. If you modulate into the bridge, that would just add another complication to it.
Yeah.
And or modulate the last chorus or something like that. It would just add more complication to it. And there's enough going on with the frantic rhythm and the little piano ditties and things like that. Like there's a lot of tasty bits in here for sure. Good. Cool. All right. So what's next for you? Is this song out on the streaming services and everything already?
Yes, it is. It's on all platforms, and I've upped my game in the social media world.
Right on.
Like I say, I'm performing. I have a 7-piece band with the keys we just introduced because of this song. I used to just tour with the fiddle and steel guitar as my flavors, and the 4-piece, obviously. And the two guys that joined up on lead guitar and fiddle in the last few years. I worked with the same guy for 15 years, and then I broke away after the last song. High Roads, Stephen Arundel produced. He was a guitar player for me for a long time. Super busy guy, talented. He's touring with William Prince right now.
Oh, nice.
He toured with Chad Brownlee and Jason Blaine. So he was always busy, but always trying to help little old me. And he did his best. And then once he got like too busy and we parted ways, I felt like, you know what? I'm 46. I don't know how far I'll push this engine and how far how far down the highway it'll take me. But I said, for myself, let's just get a big band. I want to hear keys. I want fiddle, steel guitar. I want extra leads and solos, and because I love music. Yeah. When I write a song and I look over here and this guy plays a solo, I'll turn around here and give that guy a solo, and then I'll give that guy. And that's what I love. I'm not selfish.
Absolutely.
But I'm sure everyone out in the crowd, too, loves to hear a little more than just the lead guitar every time it comes to a solo.
No, fair enough.
So,
yeah.
And then the rock and roll edge, well, there's just good music is good music.
Mm-hmm.
So to have them all there and have the dynamics now, the 7-piece band, I think we're going to have a lot of fun with that. We've got shows coming up. I got a couple festivals. I do the national anthems for the Manitoba Moose here, AHL hockey in Winnipeg, and I do the national anthems for the MJHL hockey here in Portage. So I feel good about that. I get to the community. It's volunteer work.
Amazing.
Keeps me where I want to be as a performer. And it's not always about the stage. It's about community and community building, family building. And so the plans we have, I got about 8 or 9 more songs ready to go. I don't know if I'm supposed to record an album or do one at a time, or I don't know. The industry's hard to follow right now. Everyone's doing singles right now.
Yeah, well, okay. I think that's about the time we have on the show.
Okay.
Speaking of following, we will send people to follow you from our web post on the site songtalk.ca. So be sure to check that out, and please send us your comments, Facebook or Instagram to @songtalkradio, or send us an email, feedback@songtalk.ca. And be sure to check out our YouTube channel for live performance videos and full episodes. And subscribe today to the Song Talk Radio podcast on your favorite podcast provider. And join us at our next monthly Song Talk meetup, whether you're in Toronto for our in-person meetups or anywhere in the world for our online meetups. It's free to join on meetup.com and free to attend. Bring a song and a lyric sheet and get constructive feedback from other songwriters. Stop by songtalk.ca for the link. You can follow me at neilmodi.com. And Nelson, what's your favorite social media channel? Where do you go the most?
I'm using them all now: Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. Nelson Little Music, and nelsonlittlemusic.com is my website.
Perfect. Okay, and be sure to stop by the website, songtalk.ca, to browse past shows and find out how you can be a guest. Thanks for tuning in, everyone, and keep on writing. And that's a cut for us.
That's great, Neil. I'm going to follow this. I have not had an interview strictly about songwriting. I'm intrigued.
Cool.
I'll be joining your little listen force here, adding you to my, you're on Apple and Spotify as well?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to add you up. And is there collaborating that goes on, or is it more of just involvement and listening and acquiring information that we can reach out to each other?
We can certainly connect or whatever. Are you talking about the meetup, you mean? Or
Well, I'm just saying, like, everyone involved, like your listeners and your songwriters talking to songwriters, and other songwriters are your core group, your audience.
Yeah.
What if anybody wanted to collaborate with each other inside of this big bubble of song talk?
Well, I mean, absolutely. We're not going to stop anyone from collaborating with each other or reaching out to us. The one thing we do every year for the last 4 or 5 years now, I think 4 years, is we do a songwriting challenge on the show once a year, and we propose this challenge to our listeners. We do it as well. We give ourselves a challenge. We propose the thing to our listeners, and a lot of our listeners do submit their songs to us, and then we talk about them. We talk about the process behind them and all that sort of stuff and the learnings. Last year's challenge was to write in a mode.
In a what, sorry?
In a mode, like write in Lydian or Phrygian, or the different scales. Aside from major and minor, there's like five other scales you can.
I would be
use.
good at that if someone sent me the mode. I think you could tell through our interview, I'm not very technical when it comes to, I don't read or write music.
Yeah. And that was kind of the point. And we admitted so on the podcast. We're like, we know this is going to be a tough one for you guys because most people are like you, like they're not very theory minded. And then this was an opportunity to do a little bit theory.
Wow.
The year before that, we just wrote a song based on a title. Like it was
Well, you know what? Every year. So what's your headline for this year or next year?
For this year, actually, we're going to be doing Write a Holiday Song, and we're going to start it we're starting it pretty soon. So by the end of the summer, we're hoping everyone will write a holiday song.
How do I get in on that?
It just stay tuned to the podcast. We'll be announcing it officially in a few weeks.
Okay, I'm down with that. I already have it.
And then certainly, we'll be inviting our listeners to join in on the fun, and
that's great.
We'll try and write one as well each.
Good stuff.
That's certainly how we engage with our listeners there. But certainly at the meetup, I would encourage you to come to our meetups. Every other month we do it over Zoom.
Yeah.
So you just connect with other songwriters and send a lot of them our listeners too, and stuff. So
I'm very interested.
It's a good community we have going here.
And I know Toronto. I've been there. I've played there. I'm starting to do some marketing from that way. My publicist is out that way, and I'm collaborating with some people in Montreal. I have ties in Ottawa.
Okay.
But if I were to come to Toronto, let's say in May, Do you have anything going on in May that I could come? Because I found it was hard for someone like myself to find. There's a ton of music places. I went down Queens. Everywhere I went in, there was like 10 horn players going here. But I can't say I'm country, but as a songwriter, I think it would even be harder to find a songwriting group. Where would I find that?
Well, I mean, our meetup in May is actually going to be live at the Transac Club. It's
Transac? How do I spell that?
Transac.
Transac?
Yeah, I'll send the information to Carrie,
Okay.
and she can forward it on to you, and then I'll ask her she can send you my email address and stuff like that too.
That'd be
my
great.
contact information. And then and the May one I'm actually hosting it, and it'll be it's at the Transac. It's a great little club downtown. They're a nonprofit, been supporting the music community for years.
Perfect.
And then we just get together and talk about each other's songs and give each other feedback and stuff. It's really quite fun. But there's you're right. Toronto, there's like tons of stuff going on all the time, every night.
Yeah, I looked for a country gig out there. We played at the Internation Summit at some metropolitan convention center, and we went out. Man, we walked for hours trying to find a country bar, but it wasn't there. It was lots of blues, lots of jazz, lots of rock and roll.
Yeah,
we had a great time.
Mm-hmm.
Great time. But then I mean, if I were to start seeking songwriting, I'd be like, oh, I wouldn't even know where to start. So this was awesome. This was awesome
amazing.
finding this out.
Yeah, and I'll admit, I mean, I'm not a huge country fan. I don't know of any country bars in the city. Like it's not a country town.
No, but
there's a country radio station somewhere on the FM.
Yeah, but this little meeting already made me feel like I have some friends there now that I could call up and be a part of and feel a part of it and not feel like I can't find you guys.
No, absolutely. And like you're saying before, like a great song is a great song. I've actually come to through doing this podcast and doing more songwritery things. I've started to get more of appreciation for country music. Like there is a really good thing going on there. Like
awesome.
It's not necessarily my cup of tea. I'm more of a rock and roll guy and pop music.
Do you think Just Make It Happen teases the rock and roll enough?
Totally. This is a rocker more. It's got the twangy guitar, but that's really about it.
Goal achieved.
Yeah. But like you say, it's more of a Chuck Berry thing going on than anything else.
That's great. It's been a pleasure, Neil. I'm gonna look up everything you guys do. This was a good one. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Nelson. Really appreciate that. Okay, good luck, and and we'll give you a heads up when it drops, and again, I'll send my contact information, or I'll get Carrie to send you mine. She knows me before too. Awesome stuff.
I'll be tuning in. You got a new fan here too. Thank you.
Great. Thanks a lot, Nelson.
Have a great day.
Take care.
Yeah, bye.
Have a good night. Bye-bye.